The struggle to preserve the city's besieged Famine Memorial, now doubling as a traffic island on a busy road, did not end there, though. The site not only periodically incurred damages courtesy of wayward cars and overzealous snowplows. Over the course of the 1970s and 1980s, municipal plans to redevelop the southwest sector of the city yet again threatened to displace the stone. Irish groups intent on preserving the memorial were thus kept busy pressuring the railway and after 1982 the City of Montreal to fulfill their legal obligations to maintain the site. Repeated attempts to circumvent municipal and corporate interests by petitioning for national historic recognition for the stone were also stymied. Unlike Grosse Ile, which in 1974 was identified as a site with heritage potential, the Historic Sites and Monument Board of Canada deemed Montreal's memorial unsuitable for national commemoration. By 1992, when Parks Canada unveiled its plans to develop Grosse Ile as a National Historic Site, it was apparent that the Black Stone would not be protected by national heritage. Moreover, the controversy that arose over how Parks Canada would construct Grosse Ile, which led organizations across Canada, the U.S., and Ireland to demand that the Irish dimension of Grosse Ile's history be given full commemorative treatment, was another reminder of the relative obscurity and insecurity of Montreal's memorial. As the famine sesquicentennial approached and Parks Canada agreed to reconfigure its commemoration to highlight the history of Irish famine-era migration, the island's Celtic cross was affirmed, once again, as Quebec's most evocative touchstone to an Irish past, even by Irish Montrealers who had a vested interest in the fate of their city's own famine memorial. Nonetheless, while the outpouring of interest in Grosse Ile's history engendered by the controversy reaffirmed the primacy of the Celtic cross, it also inspired Irish Montrealers to redouble efforts to revitalize the city's comparatively moribund famine monument. In 1994, the CN was persuaded to erect a new fence, as well as repair a crumbling pedestal of the stone, while the city agreed to landscape and light the site. Irish groups also worked to brand the memorial Irish, a label that had never quite stuck to the stone. Several ideas were introduced to augment the Irishness, including implanting an Irish Garden of Remembrance and a 15-foot green marble Irish cross next to the stone. Eventually, Irish groups settled on decorating the fence around the memorial site with shamrocks, that most hackneyed of Irish symbol. More significantly, the City of Montreal installed an interpretive plaque which states that 6,000 Irish immigrants were buried on the site in 1847. For those Montrealers long disgruntled with the glaring absence of references to the Irish on the stone's inscription, the plaque was an important addition that finally imprinted Irishness on the memorial 135 years after its inauguration. According to Seamus Heaney, Irishness in the diaspora constitutes, quote, a big unconscious voltage. All it needs is some transformer to make it current in a new and significant way, end quote. Quebec's two major famine monuments over the course of the 20th century stood out in their own ways as powerful, albeit intermittently utilized, transformers of Irishness. Of the two monumental sites, Grosse Ile established itself as a particularly potent place from which Irishness was conducted and activated. With its bucolic setting and its imposing Celtic cross, which towers above the still visible mounds of the 1847 gravesite, Grosse Ile has had the requisite air of gravitas and appearance of authenticity of an Irish famine site. Its Irish artifacts have over time and through commemoration been naturalized as part of the island's scenery. Though its construction as a memorial site has been a deliberate and often politically contentious undertaking, as we all know during the Irish standoff with Parks Canada in the 1990s, it has projected an image as a naturally formed Canadian conduit to an Irish past. While an important transformer of Irishness in its own right, Montreal's famine monument has never enjoyed the same cachet. With its architects and trustees Anglican, its dedication to Irish Catholics absent, its form unfinished, its maintenance by Crown corporations and municipal authorities neglected, and its location desolate, the Black Stone has always been a deeply flawed monumental manifestation of famine memory. However, these perceived imperfections in the stone, which left the site perennially violable, were instrumental at various points during the 20th century in motivating groups of Irish Catholics in the city to preserve the memorial and organize acts of famine remembrance. Despite the lingering ambivalence regarding the suitability of the stone as a famine memorial, at moments when the stone was either under siege or overlooked and was at risk of disappearing altogether, Irish Catholic groups responded by rallying to preserve the landmark and reacquaint themselves with the historical events that led to its construction. In the process, they became more aware of the efforts of preceding generations of Irish Catholics in the city to safeguard the site. Famine commemoration at the Black Stone thus became more than a matter of recalling the events of 1847. It was also an opportunity to remember those who since 1900 had preserved the memorial from desecration and resume the ongoing political battle to claim an Irish Catholic state in Montreal's memorial landscape. The question remains whether at this time next year, months after the centennial commemorative commotion on Grosse Ile has died down, if anyone will acknowledge the 150th anniversary of Quebec's other famine monument, recall the tragic events in Montreal that led to its construction, or reflect on the long-standing struggle of Irish Catholics in the city to set its meaning in stone. Thanks.